Welcome to the webinar, Leveraging AI to Streamline Your Operations for Your Nonprofit. My name is Aretha Simons. I'm a webinar producer here. I'm going to show you how you can engage in the next slide. I know many of you attend our webinars, and so you're familiar with how to engage. But if you need the closed caption, just click on the CC button at the bottom of the screen. We are going to send this recording and the slides, so there'll be some hyperlinks in the slides. We're going to send that later today or early in the morning, so look for that. We'd love you put your questions in the Q&A. I know a lot of you going to put them in the chat. Probably a lot of people here today, so we'll try to keep track of you. But put your questions in the Q&A and we'll get to them at the end. I'm going to turn this over to the team at Tapp Network. I told you you're in for a good one. So Cal, thank you so much for being here from Tapp Network. You guys take it away.
Great. Thanks, Aretha. Yeah, my name is Kyle Barkins. I'm the co-founder here at Tapp Network. I'm joined today by Zach Patton on our team. He's our marketing technology specialist, and Jason Spangler, our director of biz dev, especially when it comes to all things nonprofit, mission-driven organizations. So we're really excited to be here today. I'm joining you all from the great state of Delaware. Jason's actually just down the street from me in my same neighborhood. Fun fact, Jason's mom was my kindergarten teacher, so I've known him most of both of our lives. I'm still fortunate enough to see his mom out and around here every once in a while. Zach is all the way across the country, not even in our country. He's in Canada on the West Coast. So he's joining us from a few hours behind today. Really excited to have him here and have him part of the Tapp team. Our company, Tapp Network, we've been in business for almost 14 years now. I've been a partner of TechSoup for 8 or 9 years, I think going on almost 10 years at this point. We work with them in full capacity from as an agency, a marketing agency, working with them on optimization, implementing their HubSpot and other marketing tools, and then working with them on probably what got you here today. So everything from email marketing, automation, landing pages, sort of anything kind of customer facing. At some point, either we've worked on, we've helped them design, we've put in place, or we've managed the entire thing. We work with nonprofits and organizations of all shapes and sizes. Our goal and our mission is to empower organizations for good. So we help take some of the learnings, take some of the sort of our call it big business or enterprise level applications and pivot and turn those into nonprofits and work with nonprofits to see how they can use those to deliver their services, help serve their community, gain volunteers, grow donations, build their associations, whatever that might be. So really excited to be here today and talk to you all about how you can hopefully use AI to streamline some of those operations and kind of get more by having to sort of do less, so to speak. How we can help, if you're interested in working with us or learning more about Tapp, everything from strategy, creative and branding, as we obviously AI. We say sales enablement, but that's really just growth enablement. So, we all know all organizations need to grow. We're happy to partner with you all to help with that. And then, our services sort of run the gamut. A quick agenda for how we're going to go through this today. We're going to start with the state of AI and what we think that looks like for nonprofits. As you'll see further slides, we've just recently put out the AI benchmark study. We did a benchmark study and survey of a few thousand nonprofit organizations in partnership with TechSoup in 2024, and we've published those findings. We can share that with you all today. There will be links in this webinar or in the recording to get access to that as well, and we'll cover some of the key findings actually today. Two, we'll talk about some operational challenges that we see working with nonprofits or just all organizations and how AI can help hopefully solve some of those. We'll talk about some of the solutions for streamlining those operations. So that'll be things like certain technologies or certain ways to address those. Highlight a implementation roadmap. We'll share some success stories where we've seen this work well. We'll quickly cover our services and how to get started working with us, and then we should have plenty of time, hopefully, at the end for a live Q&A, especially if I keep talking this fast. As we mentioned, we've published that benchmark report, the state of AI in nonprofits. So you'll have a link to this. We can share that. You'll get this emailed to you after the webinar to download that. But we can dive right in with the state of AI.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. So we wanted to start off with a quick poll just before we get into the content here. What is your organization's current stage of AI adoption? Have you been using it all the time? Are you not using it at all? Have you kind of dabbled in it a little bit? So maybe share in chat, either use A, B, C, or D, or even share a little bit more details of where your organization currently is with AI. Awesome. Seeing lots of A's, few D's, few B's. So kind of a little bit all over the place. So good to know as we get into this content here a little bit. So if we go to the next slide here, Kyle. So one thing to note is lots of these stats that we have on these slides today are actually from that ebook, from that State of AI in Nonprofits benchmark report that Kyle shared just a little bit earlier there. We're going to be sharing that ebook again after the webinar, so you can take a deeper dive into more of those stats. But any of these stats are coming from that research that we did last year. So what we found is most profits are still figuring out how to use AI. So right now, about 76% of them don't really have a clear plan or strategy in place of how to use AI in your work. About 42% are relying on individual staff members to explore these tools on their own and see what works. So there's no really AI strategy across the organization. It's more so one person's trying one thing, another person's trying another thing. So how can we kind of dial that in a little bit more to have more of a formal strategy? So even though many are still in the early process of adopting AI, some nonprofits are finding good ways to start. So one common use, I'm sure lots of us have used ChatGPT for content creation. You can use AI for things like writing social media posts, newsletters, or even blog articles for your website. We've seen that others are using AI to help with grant writing, so that can save a lot of time, give them a starting point. And then some are using it to analyze data, which will help you better understand your programs or your audience. So yeah, we'll go to the next slide here, Kyle. So AI can make a big difference for nonprofits by helping them work smarter and work faster. So one of the biggest benefits is that it can boost efficiency. AI can take care of those repetitive tasks like data entry, scheduling, or even sorting your emails. So this will give you so much more time to focus on the work that really matters. It'll also help improve your community engagement. So with AI, you can send better messaging to the people that you serve and reach them in more personal and timely ways. AI can also support your fundraising. So by looking at the data, whether it's current data, past data, or even future data, AI can help your nonprofit create personalized campaigns so that you can connect better with your donors and then ultimately increase your support. And then lastly here, AI can help solve complex issues. So it can analyze patterns to predict future outcomes, which can then help you make smarter decisions for your programs or your services. So getting into a few different AI tools that nonprofits, that we see nonprofits using. So one of the most popular tools are things like generative AI, so ChatGPT or DALL-E. We see these tools helping with creating content such as emails, blog posts, graphics, and so much more. There's also speech recognition tools, so like Otter AI, for example. These are being used to create to make content more accessible and then turn your spoken words into written transcripts, which can save time and then help with communication. So you can use that for creating content. You can also use that for recording your meetings, for example. There's some marketing automation platforms that are adopting AI like HubSpot. In HubSpot, AI can help you by taking care of those repetitive tasks. So sending follow-up emails or organizing your contacts so that you can really focus on that more meaningful work. There's also virtual assistants, chatbots, and predictive analytics. So predictive analytics, these tools will help you look at the trends in your data to help your teams make better choices and even prevent issues before they even happen. So it's still a new area for many, but it does hold a lot of promise. I'm just going to pass over to Kyle for some challenges that nonprofits are facing.
Yeah, one of the challenges we face is clicking through the next slide. I wish I had AI to advance these slides for me. So some of the challenges we've seen nonprofits face, just lack of strategy and resources. So you guys can see the numbers on here, but 76% of nonprofits are lacking that formal AI strategy. So they know it's out there. They know they should be using it. They just don't really know how to go about it. And there's a lot of times it's sort of like they're kind of scared to dip their toes in. They don't know where to start. And that makes sense because, we know you're typically spread thin. You're working on a bunch of different things. You're wearing a bunch of hats. So you're really not sure which hat to put on next. And you make sure it fits and all that fun stuff. Because we're a lot of the nonprofits, at least that responded to this, and a lot of that come through TechSoup, certainly are working with budgets that are like under $500,000. So we're really thinking about how that makes things affordable. That becomes like a barrier to entry for a lot. And typically they rely on only 1 or 2 staff members to make that decision making. So it kind of limits their capacity. But we see the same sort of challenges also in larger organizations. We just had a conversation yesterday, not with a nonprofit, but with a multi-billion-dollar organization, and they don't know how to implement AI tools because they're too big. So they're not agile enough. They don't know how to like kind of look at the whole picture and see where AI can fit in there, where it can touch, multiple places and where it can have the biggest impact. Instead of having things in silos where people can go off and say, okay, this team's going to use AI for this team's going to use this other tool for that, and then by the time you're done with it, you've got 10 different departments all using 10 different tools that don't work together, or you get these cases where you've got 10 different departments all using the same tool, different licenses, and now you're paying for things a few times that you shouldn't be. So it's certainly a challenge by taking that, like, having that strategy and going at it the right way. There's ethical considerations and concerns. So about half of nonprofits are concerned with it being inclusive, making sure we're not excluding anyone, whether that's in the content that they're creating, the type of designs that are being developed. Worrying about data privacy, which is certainly a concern, especially with some of the free tools or the tools that are, not here, so to speak. And then being sure to minimize that bias in systems. So there's also like the worry with like especially generative AI with like hallucinations and things like that. It's pretty frequent we'll see something come up and tell us something that's like completely not true or not what we asked for. So certainly having to filter through that and manage that is important. And then there's just the lack of trust. So I think what was kind of shocking to me was such a um, small percentage of people said that there was a concern over accuracy and reliability. And just again, from experience, like in the new age of AI, so to speak, I see a lot of inaccuracy in some of these things because it's pulling from sources that are not. It's pulling from so many sources. You can't say they're certainly verified. They do their best certainly to verify those things. But as you get into these like tiny markets and little niche spaces, it's really important to make sure that like you're pulling the right information. So that's where I think there's an opportunity for organizations, especially like nonprofit organizations, to really shine because they can be that source of information. They can put that out there. They can, sort of change the outcome, so to speak. And then about 80%, so over 3/4 of them lack some sort of acceptable use policy. So knowing who should use it, when they should use it, what they should use it for, and what's acceptable for AI. So some ways to kind of overcome that adoption barrier I was talking about originally was, looking for affordable solutions, leveraging the like sort of low cost AI tools that are available to you. Somebody mentioned, or Aretha mentioned the Copilot webinar tomorrow. So looking at tools like that, looking at like the free versions of things like ChatGPT and Claude, and just knowing what platforms are out there and what their capabilities are, and again, not taking on too much, but knowing what the where one lets off and the other one kind of picks up. To do that, you need to have like a real clear strategy. So developing a formal adoption roadmap. So aligning with the organization goals, knowing what it can do. It's great that AI can do all these great things. It can create, videos. It can create, um, PowerPoint presentations. It can, write blog posts and things like that for you. It can place ads. It can answer questions on your website. It can consolidate a bunch of information. It can do data analysis. It can do all these great things, but really understanding what your organization needs and what your goal um, is what's going to be important. So one of the things we start to do is just looking at what people are doing, like the day-to-day basis, what systems you're using, what is expected of those systems, and having a strategy to what to reach those goals. And then I think lastly, is having expert support. So having access to a consultant, having access to people that are using this every day. And to my earlier point, with that large organization, that's something that they're lacking and something that they turn to us for. They have a bunch of people that are internal experts on many different things, but they don't have anybody that's really focused on AI and adoption and putting it in place and building that strategy out. And they can really allocate the time and the resources to that. So they partner with us because we can. That's what we do, right? We have that 10,000-foot view, and we can also get granular, so we're not stuck in really the day-to-day execution of whatever the mission is or whatever that their specific role is, so we can have that sort of consultative approach, and start to guide them in the right direction. Some of the challenges that we're here to talk to you about today that this can solve, we'll go through, but I want to know what you all are facing currently. So if you just let us know in that chat, what are you currently struggling with? You can use the E answers, do you have too much time you're spending on administrative tasks? Is it trying to personalize communications to donors, to volunteers, to your community? Is it you trying to write grants and do reporting? Is it volunteer coordination, or maybe it's something else? And if it's something else, I'd love to see what else it is that you guys are faced with. Awesome. So there's 100 and looks like there's almost 200 people on this. So I'm not gonna be able to read all the letters, but I'll kind of summarize it. Looks like it's a lot of administrative stuff. Somebody said database upkeep. Somebody said capacity. So that's really, I think all of them. And somebody said, you know, ABC. So kind of what we expect of nonprofits. So I'll have Zach go through some of the common operational challenges we see and summarize those.
Yeah, so obviously there's a lot in the chat here that are coming up, but yeah, some of the common ones that we definitely see are limited resources. So some nonprofits, you might have 2 or 3 staff, you might have no staff. It might be just you, right? So definitely limited resources is one thing that we're seeing. AI can definitely step in and take some of those administrative tasks off of you. Again, administrative burden, excessive time spent on repetitive tasks. There's so many different tasks that you have to be doing, but some of these things can be taken over through the use of AI, right? So another thing is having all of your systems disconnected. So you might have your website, you'll have your social media, you'll have a CRM, you'll have all these different systems, but they're not necessarily connected to one another. So finding out where you can connect those and using AI to help you connect those and automate some of those workflows in between the systems can definitely be something that is super helpful, as well as donor management. So we've talked about content quite a bit, reporting requirements. So lots of grants require very specific reports for applying for those grants. You can definitely use AI to analyze those systems once they're connected to everything. Like I said, like your website, your CRM, once you have all of the data in there, you may struggle to find, how can I best display this data? How can I best report on all of this information that I have? AI can definitely help you with that as well. So now we're going to get into how to utilize AI to streamline operations. So again, another poll here. I think this is the 3rd poll we've had here, but which of these AI powered solutions would make the biggest impact for your organization right now? So would it be workflow automation? I know we had lots of people saying like administrative tasks, social media management. Would it be workflow automation, processing documents, meeting productivity? That's one thing that we see a lot of, chatbots, and then content creation as well. So again, lots of A's. Some people are saying all of these. So we'll get into some of the solutions here. So the first step would be to audit your tech stack. So where can AI fit in? So to get the most out of AI, it's important to really take a good look at the tools and the systems that your organization is already using. So the goal is to see, where can AI be added to make things easier or more effective? So start by looking at your website. Ask yourself if it's set up to connect with AI tools like chatbots or personalized content. Next, you'll want to think about your content creation tools and your content creation process. So if writing and designing is taking up a lot of time, AI can help speed these things up for you. And also look at how you're collecting and analyzing your data. If this is being done manually, like we said before, AI can help pull out these trends and insights faster and more accurately. And then you don't want to forget about your communication platforms. You're emailing, you might be texting, you'll have social media, you'll have Facebook, Instagram, all of the different platforms. AI can help personalize your messages based on the platform and then help you connect better with your audience on those platforms. And then finally, with administrative workflow processes, these are behind the scenes tasks that obviously keep things running. So AI can help you automate these things like scheduling, reminders, or sorting through your files. So by going through each of these steps, it might take quite a bit of time, but in the long run, it's definitely going to save you time. I'm just going to pass over to Kyle for workflow automation.
So one of the things that we've been using AI, we've built AI systems, and we really leverage AI on a day-to-day basis is for workflow automation. So when you start to hear things like agentic AI or AI agents, a lot of that's also just workflow automation. But we'll give some examples here as well. So before AI, when you're thinking about entering things across a bunch of different systems, so maybe you put something in a Google spreadsheet or an Excel sheet, and then you have to import that into MailChimp, and then send your emails out through MailChimp, manually. And then you have to track, who did what in MailChimp, see what websites they visited in Google Analytics, then try to match that back to the people you sent to originally, then put that in some sort of CRM to see who's donating and all that fun stuff. So you're matched with that sort of like really time-consuming process. With AI, it's synchronizing that across the different platforms, and also look in using AI to highlight opportunities for growth, opportunities for change, opportunities to maybe market to a donor that's donated multiple times, or like create these different cohorts. So using things like smart reporting, setting up real-time dashboards, having AI tell you the best time to send emails, doing like intelligent scheduling, and then also making sure that it's also the right time for your resources. So as you're thinking about the work that you're putting in, like all the time you just save by being able to automate some of this stuff, now can go back to, really focused on your mission, but then you're still going to have time, you still have to spend time writing the content or doing these things. So as you start to use these more and more, it'll start to different tools can start to learn how you're doing that and optimize the right times and tasks that need to be handled. So a couple ways a couple systems that we've used for workflow automation. Zapier. It's funny, different people call this Zapier and all these other funny things. And then for the first time, we've been using this probably for 10 years. The other day, somebody said, I guess it is Zapier because it's called, you have to create zaps, and like, you don't create zapes, so I'm going to call it Zapier. I'm sticking with that. So Zapier actually uses AI itself to recommend like some ways so you can actually kind of give it your problem and say, here's the systems I'm trying to connect. And it will actually use AI to kind of come up with a way to build those, to connect those systems together. But then you can also use it to connect those systems, right? So you can do things like eliminating tasks like entering donor data. So new column in a spreadsheet, put that into a system, go, you mine this website or go through this database and find information about them, pull that into one place and centralize that into a CRM, for example. Or maybe a new person comes to a form on your website, that triggers an automation that puts them into that, maybe into MailChimp, and then MailChimp has an automation to send them a thank you for for requesting more information or whatever. It's nice because you can set this up to do like sort of a real-time sync between things like CRM systems, the marketing platform we just talked about. Another tool is called Clock that we've had success with or seen success with is like Clockwise, which allows you to do like especially for nonprofits, is like managing meetings, events, volunteer shifts, managing campaigns without having to do like a lot of manual intervention. So this can work similar like to tools like Calendly or other tools like that can align a bunch of different systems, a lot of different calendars, a lot of different resources, and then find the ideal time for setting up a meeting. So as you're thinking about planning time to meet with your board or planning time to work with your volunteers, this is a great way for like small teams to be able to coordinate very easily. And it almost becomes sort of an executive assistant, so to speak. It's great because it also integrates with a lot of the tools you're going to use commonly, like Google Calendar, Slack, I think Microsoft Office, like the main tools that organizations use operationally. There's certainly other tools out there like N8N, the letter 8N, that can do more complex automations, things like make.com. And you'll see more and more of these things pop up every day, but those are just kind of two of our favorite that we see a lot of success working with nonprofit organizations. Another thing we like, as we highlighted, one of the areas for improvement or struggles that you all have is handling grant applications, doing reports, setting up donor messaging, working through like financial documentation, creating annual reports. So being able to smart process those documents, right? To pull information out of it, read documents, consolidate a bunch of different policies or something like that, for example, and say, what's changed, what's highlighted, what are people asking for, and then you can use these different tools to create like standardized reporting on those. Like, here's the common things. Like, for example, we actually used AI on our AI benchmark report, right, to do a first summary of it and to summarize some of that data. And then we all, obviously we collected all this data, but it's able to give us, more contextual results than one person's going to be able to sit there and say, oh, this is what this says, this is what this says. It can align a lot of that stuff pretty quickly for you. And then the other one, what's nice about using tools like this, it allows you to do things like automating approvals. So setting up that workflow, and if you've got multiple people on your team that need to look through something, say it looks right, okay, this person checks that off, that person's approved it, it moves on and keeps going down that approval workflow. It also allows you to use some of that generative AI capability to create content that is personalized for whoever the audience is. So that could be something as simple as like different reports, or maybe it's even the same report going to different people. You can use AI to contextualize that so that if what Zach sees and how that report is explained to him is different than what Jason sees, for example. There's obviously chatbots. One of the requests we get so frequently is, can you put a chatbot on my website? Can a chatbot replace me? Can I have a chatbot replace the interns that keep leaving? Things like that. So like a lot of nonprofits are certainly, managing, supporting their communities. They're answering questions about, different causes, whatever that might be. So that they've traditionally had to answer phone calls, answer emails. Maybe they have a website with like an FAQ page on it, so you're making people kind of go there and find their own answers. Or people would use chatbots a little bit more like a search engine, so it would just be a little bit more manual and would just only pull up or show up the answers to those results. A new way with using things like BotPress, which is built by ChatGPT. Intercom has a great one. Even Microsoft Copilot has an option to create AI chatbots. These things really become like almost like a part of your team, right? So they can be conversational. You can train it. You have to train them on your information, but different chatbots can actually be, I'll say, like, quote unquote, easier to train. So you give it more information, you kind of set it down the right path of what to look through. And then it can be a lot more contextual for your people. So instead of that really static frequently asked question page, or like, the typical frequently asked question page, you like click a little button and it like expands and you have to go search through and read all those things. You can actually have ask questions of these chatbots. These are great for things like 211, where you're providing like local resources and information. If you're answering questions about taxes, tax changes, if you're, as we said, like, doing awareness campaigns, doing community support. And it can be even helpful for donor management and donor funding too, because people will have the questions like, how do I donate? Where does my money go? How do I know that this is secure? Like things that just common questions like that. Or I'd like to donate to this cause. I'd like to make sure that my money goes to this thing I donated last year, blah, blah, blah. You can get very contextual depending on how tied in this is. And one other sort of like nice to have or value add of this is like having multilingual support. So it's not always perfect, but it's certainly better than only having a single language.
So now using AI for meeting productivity, for example. So today's meeting, for example, we have AI bot running in the background, recording everything that we're saying to help with the follow-up, right? So this can be done for anything, whether it's a Zoom call, a Google Meet call, a Teams call, even an in-person meeting. If you have a mobile app, you can use AI to take notes during your meetings. So previously before AI, taking notes during your meetings, trying to remember everything, obviously it was manual and stressful. So key points or action items are quite easy to miss if you're having a 30-minute, even an hour call. And somebody always had to spend time writing down and sending out summaries afterwards. So AI can take over the note-taking tasks for you. So tools can join your Zoom meetings, your Google Meet meetings. They'll record the call and then transcribe everything that's said. So after the meeting, you'll automatically have a summary with all of the bullet points that highlight the key topics discussed. So everything that you communicated in that call, whether it be 10-second small talk or a 20-minute conversation, you'll have notes for everything that was said. So, and some AI tools even go a step further by identifying post-meeting action items so nothing gets lost. So there's quite a few different platforms out there that we've used. I know we use Read AI and Otter AI across our systems. There's also tools like Firefly's AI. I'm sure there's quite a few more. And so many of the AI tools for meeting summaries have mobile apps as well. So if you're having an in-person meeting with the board, for example, there's 12 of you at the table, the system will be able to identify who's speaking. It'll put all the notes organized super well so that you can have those notes after the fact. So getting into content creation and communication. So I'm sure as many of us know, AI is great for creating content and improving how nonprofits communicate. So it can help you with writing newsletters, emails, grant narratives and reports, and then coming up with social media posts as well. It's helpful for generating website copy, annual reports, and then even things like brochures or guides. The main benefits are clear here. So AI can help you save time by quickly generating your first drafts, which means you basically don't have to start from scratch. It'll also help keep your messaging consistent across everything you publish. And then another big plus is personalization at scale. So AI can help you tailor your messages to different groups without much extra work, which can then lead to better engagement metrics across the board. There's also some drawbacks. So one important thing is to watch out for tone and accuracy. AI can sometimes get the facts wrong, as Kyle was saying earlier, or it can create content that feels too generic or robotic. So really important to review and edit the final content to make sure that it fits the voice of your brand and the voice of your organization and is fully correct. So there's a few different AI tools that can help with writing and communication, just on the next slide there, Kyle. One is Grammarly's AI tools. So I'm sure lots of us have used Grammarly for rewriting content, rewriting paragraphs. It'll help you make quick edits, improve clarity, and then adjust the tone of your content. So whether you want it to sound more professional, more friendly, or somewhere in between, it's easy to use and has almost no learning curve at all. So you can use it you can just paste content right into it, or you can add it to tools like Google Docs or Gmail and start using it with those extensions. Another one, ChatGPT, I'm sure we've all heard about it. It's great for creating content from scratch. So you can use it to write drafts for emails, newsletters, again, all the different pieces of content there. Super interactive, and it responds kind of like a conversation, right? So it's conversational AI. And while it is easy to use, the more clearly you ask, the better results you'll get. So there's definitely a bit of a learning curve compared to Grammarly. If you really wanted to have like super good, great content coming out, you really have to give it good ingredients to make that great final product.
Yeah.
Kyle, did you want to touch on Jasper?
Yeah, so Jasper, there's other tools like this, but Jasper's one we've it's been around for a while, and they keep improving it. This is great for like almost sort of end-to-end content marketing. So you can do everything from create headlines and do content planning, create SEO enabled blog posts, long form, short form blog posts, web page, landing page content, email content, short social media content. So this is great for just like day-to-day content creation. This says web, but it's also, you know, can certainly be used for print materials and things like that. It's pretty easy to get set up. There's a lot you can do with it. So we said like the learning curve sort of moderate, but there's a lot of features that you can put into this. One thing they've done very well since the beginning, they have like I don't remember, it's called the Academy or something like that, but they have a lot of learning courses, a lot of live webinars and recorded webinars that you can join to really learn how to use the tool. And then the other one is Claude. I use Claude every day. We actually build the company behind Claude is called Anthropic. We build tools that actually integrate right with Anthropic and allow us to run automations, allow us to use their models for things like the code we write, the software we create, obviously some of the content we create and things like that. But it's really good at like long form content writing, does a good job of keeping context. You can build these projects, you give the projects in for more background and data, and then you can continue to refer back to those projects over time. So, you know, if you want to work on like a campaign or something like that, you just continue to feed it information, and then you can have chats within that project that are different parts of that campaign, for example. So this is really good for like doing grant proposals, writing for grants, or like doing grant summaries. Great for strategic reports and anything a little bit more complex. it's not going to be as like, I'm going to say user friendly as something like Jasper. So we think it's a little bit more moderate to high. So it's good if you have like a strategic approach and you know what the different steps are you need to get there and you're okay with sort of communicating with it. I probably talk to Claude more than I talk to all humans combined at this point. So, it is really certainly like a few steps to get through that one.
Yeah, I think too, just to add on that, with generating content and generating whether it be social media posts or website content. I know we have one comment in the chat here: can't foundations tell that AI is used to create content? I think that it's super important to always review the information that you're getting from ChatGPT or Claude or wherever, right? So if you ask ChatGPT to write you a social media post, you always want to review that, make a couple edits of your own, make sure that everything still fits your brand voice, still fits the message that you're trying to get across. Because yeah, some people can tell that AI has written something, or maybe some of the ideas or the information is wrong or incorrect, right? So it's always important to review that that material that you're getting out of it.
Another common use case is we started talking about like data analysis and reporting. So before, having to consolidate all these different sources into one place, do the analysis, create some basic segmentation based on that analysis. Being able to use tools like AI, you can automate a lot of that visualization. So feed it in there and ask it to create the report you want, show how things are connected, interconnected, creating these pretty cool diagrams. And then also asking, have that compare to other examples or other outcomes or other inputs to see what what that program outcome could be, have it build a model for you. And then also attaching it in cases like I was talking about, using like Anthropic or things, either building something from scratch or using existing tools or using one of the like an MCP to create real-time monitoring. So tracking for key like KPIs, key performance indicators, seeing when certain levels are hit, and then automating off that or sending alerts based on that or updating the reports based on those things. One of our favorite tools, and we talked about this if you've been on webinars before, you'll know we're a HubSpot Platinum partner. We've been with HubSpot for 10 years now, implementing the tools and the workflow automation systems that come with that. What we love about HubSpot is they just continue to invest in innovation, and they are the gold standard now as it comes to everything from CRM, marketing automation, sales automation, and now more like commerce and content. They are the first enterprise level CRM to implement an MCP, which is a model context protocol, which allows you to use that to plug into other AI tools or pull from other AI tools and models. So you can plug your HubSpot data right into something like that. Or you can plug your other data right into HubSpot very easily. What's nice about it is AI is built into it. So they use a system called Breeze that will help you do a lot of the things we already talked about. So you can almost replace you could replace something like Jasper with HubSpot. You can use the models that are available in Claude and ChatGPT right in HubSpot. So it kind of saves you that cost, so to speak. But what's nice is like it gives you the centralized approach that we've talked about. So keeping everything tied together, having things all either in one place or connected to one place allows you to do things like better segmentation. So, connecting all your different resources into one place to be able to better segment donors, better email those donors, track what they've done in the past, track what events they're going to, track how much they're interacting and engaging with you. Any of you who have received emails from TechSoup have been subject to this in some way or shape or form because we use HubSpot for them. They're using a tool to say who signed up for this, who's interested in this, who would be likely to enroll in these different webinars, and we do a pretty good job. They think they do a pretty good job of segmenting those different audiences. It does a great job sort of out of the box, providing like predictive insight so they know who's likely to convert. They're going to make sure that you're not sending emails to people that aren't engaged, and they are going to send emails to people that are, just as an example, and they will make sure that these emails get in their inbox at the right time. It does content generation, as I was talking about, like, it could replace Jasper in that aspect by giving it some information and allow it to create that content. It can also create images for you, just like you can with DALL-E. It also integrates directly with For those of you who use Canva, you can actually use Canva right inside HubSpot and give it the context to build those things out for you. And then the other kind of benefits that we've talked about with AI, it's nice that it's kind of built in and out of the box, so to speak, within HubSpot. Back to Zach to.
Yeah, so just gonna go over a AI implementation roadmap now. So kind of where is your organization at? What can you do to, what AI tools can you use to get yourself to the next level there? So again, another quick poll here. What is the biggest barrier you face in implementing AI? Is it the budget? I know that there's some free tools out there that anybody can use, but there's some paid tools as well. Is it lack of technical expertise? Is it your staff are resistant to change? Is it there's privacy concerns, or are you kind of unsure where to start? Awesome. So yeah, seeing again, kind of everywhere across the board here. So we went over some implementation barriers a little bit earlier. Kyle, if you want to just go to the next slide here. We went through some implementation barriers a little bit earlier, but some common challenges, technical expertise, budget constraints, staff are resistant to change, and then quality issues with the data that comes out. So some solutions that we've kind of talked about and want to share here. So start small with high impact use cases. So what is the easiest thing for your team to implement, and which of those items are going to impact your organization the most? So if it's content generation, if that's something that you're struggling with, you might not have somebody who does content on your team, definitely push to use that first. Leverage nonprofit discounts and grants. So some tools have discounted options for nonprofits. I know I mean, everybody's been a TechSoup member here. I think that using organizations and working with organizations like TechSoup, I know HubSpot has discounts available for nonprofits as well. So there are softwares out there that have preferred plans for nonprofits. Provide clear communication with your team about the benefits of using AI. So sharing resources internally with everybody on your team, saying, hey, these are maybe some good tools that you can use. Maybe these aren't some good tools. Getting into the implementation roadmap here. So Kyle, I think maybe we'll bounce back and forth here, but step one would be to define your budget and objectives. So identify how much money your organization has to spend on AI. So if it's currently you're just like kind of exploring it, not too sure, start with using the free versions of the tools. There's free versions of ChatGPT, there's free versions of Claude, Jasper. The paid versions may have more features or more memory capabilities, but definitely like every tool will have a free version that you can use to start off with. Clarify your goals and expected outcomes. So why are you using AI? And then secure that support from leadership, but then across the team as well. Kyle, do you want to just jump in there for number 2?
Yeah, cool. So continuing down, just exploring and just comparing the different solutions we talked about earlier, just understanding what tools align with those needs. So start with that objective, looking for the tools that will kind of meet some of those needs, and looking at this through a couple different lenses. Like maybe they're nonprofit specific, maybe they're not, but also looking at ones that might not just solve one problem, they might be able to solve multiple problems. And then on the flip side of that, also look at the tools that have expertise in one specific solution, if that's like one of your biggest goals or biggest challenges. Making sure that once you do that, you have that ethical AI standard kind of mindset in place, and adopt that standard. So what is your privacy going to look like? I've seen questions in the chat. We commonly see questions about privacy. So knowing what your protocols are, what privacy you're collecting, making sure the people that you're collecting, what information you're collecting from people, and making sure that those people that you're collecting that information from know what you're doing with that information, so that there's transparency. And then also knowing what the tools you're using will do with that information. A lot of times we keep anything, we always keep like personally identifying information, things like that out of any different AI model, regardless of if they're saying it's secure or not. We'll find ways to obfuscate that information. So using like unique IDs that can't be traced back to a person, for example. So like if I had all Zach's personal information in a system, I would take his name, I would take all his personal information out, I would replace that with like an ID and have a completely separate disconnected system that is not that has like, Zach Patton is ID 12345. Put the 12345 information like that in the system again without anything that can tie back to him, and then let that create the data for me. So I could say, okay, this is what my market looks like, or this is what my donors look like, or something like that. And then if I want to get back to Zach, I'd have to like pull the data out, put it in a separate system that's again closed and secured. Being sure that the information that you're feeding to these systems, as well as the information you're getting back from these systems, is inclusive, it's unbiased, it's not using, like, not making assumptions. And then having that acceptable use policy, we think is sort of paramount, like going into these things. So anybody on your team that's using it, anybody that you and you yourselves using it, know what's acceptable from an AI standpoint, what you should be using these tools for, what you shouldn't be using them for, what should go into them, and then being transparent about that too. Like we don't try to pretend to people like, oh, we're doing these things that AI is doing for us. I think a lot of times the reason that people work with us is because we are able to use AI and help keep that cost down. The reason that we typically go up against other agencies that spend days, weeks, hours, months, whatever, on doing things like the traditional agency format, and they take a long time to build a campaign out or something like that, is because they're either kind of just eating the clock up, or else they're actually still manually doing these things. And in this day and age, there's no reason to do that. There's no one person is going to have the experience, the skills, the expertise at this point that like an AI tool does, that can analyze these things quickly. You just need the right people to put those tools in place and manage those tools for you. So to that point, integrating that solution, making sure that you're able to implement that into your processes and your systems with like minimal disruption. So, not looking at this as like a rip and replace. If it is, then like have a much larger plan for that. Making sure this is connecting with those systems and reading from those or interfacing with them and getting the right information out of it. So, it's always going to be garbage in, garbage out. Like if you're just adding new tools and they're doing the same thing as the existing ones, they're not talking to each other, then it's just another layer of complexity that you have kind of for no reason. And then, not lastly, but kind of throughout this whole process, making sure your team knows that plan, they understand that policy. You provide them training, they know how to get the most out of the tools, and then they're kind of kept up to date with that. So if you're making the investment in these platforms, you're making the time investment into putting these things in place, and you're connecting everything, and you've really kind of created this now linchpin for your organization. It's really important to make sure you have like internal champions. It's important to make sure that they're trained, they stay up to date, and then they're taking advantage of ongoing opportunities that come out from those systems. So as I was talking about HubSpot, like, our team is constantly either obviously using the tools and testing the new things out and enrolling in the beta programs, but also being educated on the different certifications so that we're kept up to date, so that we can not just talk the talk, but actually know how to use the systems. And it's important that, again, if you're making these investments and things, you're doing that as well. We'll go through a quick use case here, and then we should have time for some questions as we wrap this up. So just an idea like how this would work. So before AI, you'd spend a bunch of time, scheduling volunteers, shifts for your organization, sending those confirmation emails to the volunteers, also the people that they're serving. Then you're going to have to go back and write reports for your board or for the funders to say, here's how we got volunteers, here's how many we got, here's how many people we served, here's where your money went, here's why we need this money again in this next fiscal year. And then all along the way, to be able to be accurate with this information and put the right stuff out there, you've probably been sitting there taking notes during meetings or not been able to pay attention because you're distracted by trying to hang on to every word someone says. When you put AI, by putting AI into that process for you, you can use a tool like Zapier, like we talked about, to automate scheduling those reminders and things like that. Somebody signs up for a shift, we can make sure that those shifts get filled accordingly, and then they get set confirmation and reminders all along the way without, you set it up one time and kind of it runs in the future. Use a tool like otter.ai or read.ai to record, your meetings, to transcribe those things, to send summaries. And both of these tools, and a lot of these tools even, will go as far as to like look at your email, look at your Slack, things like that to give you a full view context of those things. So yeah, maybe I talked to Zach on a call today and I got an email from Zach, yesterday, and he sent me a Slack message a couple of days ago. I can tie all that information back to Zach and I can get the context on Zach and my conversation. And then using something like ChatGPT or Claude, or one of the other generative AI tools that can plug into those things to create a report and thank you letter for the donations, for the funders, and even for your board, for the volunteers, whatever those may be, so that you can really give that personal touch to them without having to create a one-off email each time. What we've seen this successfully save, we said 40+ hours per month, but we've seen whole teams not be replaced, be augmented by this. So like, we don't look at this as an opportunity to replace a person. We look at this as an opportunity to replace the tasks that person is managing, or the systems that person is managing, so they can kind of level up and take on the next responsibility or role. That gives you more time for your programs, gives them more time for that focus. It gives them more capacity, and then allows you to really grow and amplify that impact. So really quickly, I'm going to just kind of breeze through. We talked about like how this stuff can help. I'm going to talk about some of our services. So we do everything from building AI enhanced websites. We can get websites launched in days now instead of months. I mean, certainly there's going to be sometimes more custom code, but we've got programs and projects that we work on that allow us to use AI from almost from start to finish for these websites to really help keep the cost down and really get you to market quickly. We can help you optimize your data through insights, through providing insights on top of that data, so you can make better, faster decisions that really have like an actionable outcome. Manage your donors, consolidate your CRM, automate those workflows we talked about, really better engage, and then everything down through funding and automation. We have different packages. One, there's like a starter package. We think this works really well. We've seen a lot of success with this with organizations where maybe you don't have, like as we said, maybe you don't have like the expertise or the skills or even the time to look through this for your own organization, but we'll jump in and do that with you. So this looks like it's a quick intro call with you. Then there's a 45-minute assessment where we talk about your technology and sort of get a lay of the land. We share some questions with you, get feedback on that. And then we have a 90-minute consultation with you, your team, whoever you want to bring to that, to really provide an overview of like your technology, look at your struggles, your strategy, everything, and kind of give you an objective view of that, as well as to get everybody on the same page. And then we provide like an outcomes report for how to integrate those different tools and our recommendations on what tools you might be able to use. We also have monthly services that start around $8.99 a month. Some of this is like request based, and if you want to add like you want to add an expert to engage with, it kind of goes up from there. But that's everything from like optimizing your existing tools, implementing new tools, integrating things, and even training your team. This is great for like any nonprofit really at any stage of your journey. So whether you just need a little bit of support ongoing, if you want to get set up, we're happy to talk to you about that. We did get clearance for a special offer here through HubSpot. So we do have we can do 10% off our CRM implementation if you guys want to sign up through this and book a consultation. And we also can get your onboarding fee waived through HubSpot. So that's typically anywhere from $1,500 to up to like $45 or even more. We can get that waived for new clients that join from today's webinar. And you'll see a couple more things on this slide. You'll see a link to contact us and get started, or have any questions for us, as well as that AI benchmark report we talked about. And with the last few minutes, I did talk a lot. Well, I can answer some of these questions that I saw come through the Q&A. It looks like there's only 3, so it looks like we've probably answered a few throughout this. So thank you, Jason and Zach, or whoever's jumped in and done that. Is there AI automation for social media? Someone asked. Yes, there's a number of these. I think Jasper can help do some of that. HubSpot can certainly do some automation. A lot of the tools, like things like Agorapulse, I think Buffer has. A lot of these things have like AI built in and automation built in. So it won't just be the automation aspect. It's typically also some of that generative content AI as well. Someone asked if there is a cost associated with using generative content and communication tools. Yeah, a lot of these have like a free service or a freemium service where you can get either a certain number of credits, a certain amount of output, things like that for free. I'll answer another question. that I saw about like privacy, but a lot of times you have to pay for the service to get access to not let them use your content or your information in their model, and you have to opt out of that too. So that's usually only on one of the paid programs. Um, ChatGPT has a memory limit. Are there memory limits associated with other recommended apps? They do have memory limit, but again, that's based on the service you select. So, you know, as you pay higher fees or you look at other platforms, those memory limits either get removed or reduced. So there are for the free ones, and then a lot of times you'll have things where like they'll only let you do a certain amount of words or answers or whatever in a certain period of time, but it's a pretty high limit typically. It is, I always say garbage in, garbage out. Like, you know, this does take strategy going into it, knowing what you're asking for. If you just ask a ton of questions, you know, kind of think of it death by 1,000 cuts, it will creep up on those limits. So it's being sure that you're more contextual, more strategic on the questions you're asking. Who should lead the AI initiative on a nonprofit? That the answer to that is Tapp Network. We are happy to help you with that. But no, if you have someone internally, there's no right or wrong answer really to that. It's the person that is you know, dedicated. I wouldn't say dedicated only to this, but is able to dedicate the time and the resources to understanding what the opportunities are, making sure that they're looking through you know, what the risks are as well. We are part of it, have been part of a number of boards for nonprofit organizations of all sizes, to help them answer some of these questions and kind of put together like a convening team to identify the right outcomes for each individual organization. Someone said MailChimp versus Constant Contact. Obviously, the answer is HubSpot. There's again, same thing. Like it's just different for everyone. It depends on like your use case. Constant Contact seems to have a few more features, and you can do a couple different things with it. MailChimp's a lot easier to get set up, but they both have their pluses and their minuses for sure. Is there a way to ensure privacy when using AI to pull insights from recordings or transcripts? Again, that's based on like what the different tools offer and will do and what you give them. So it's important to kind of understand what that looks like and have that policy in place. I do see that we've got like 2 more minutes. I see a couple more questions in here. A lot of this is just comments, so
Yeah, a few comments about just like the security of using free versions versus paid versions. So I think Kyle covered that pretty well. In essence, if you're not required to pay to use the tool, possibly your information and your inputs are the payment, right? So what you're feeding those free tools, they may have some sort of policy that allows them to use that information for creating their model and expanding their offerings. So you just want to make sure really that you're not providing information that that you wouldn't otherwise share with the general public, right? So as Kyle was talking about with those using a unique identifier or other systems there.
I will say one thing. I just like I take this with a grain of salt. Maybe like it's I'm very security focused. We were very security focused at Tapp, but it was interesting to me how much more security and privacy focused people became through AI when there's millions and millions of tools that we use every day that we've always been so happy to like put our information in, not thinking about what it does. And like those tools just bolt AI on top of it. Like just think about the information everybody feeds to Amazon or Siri or things like that. That's much more, it's going to put you much more specifically at risk than some of the stuff that goes into AI. I mean, it is certainly a risk, but I would think about, you know, I would think of the other tools the same way as well. So it's not just about the AI tools. That's certainly a security concern. But as you're thinking about security, I would think about the other tools that are part of this as well, and then part of that whole ecosystem. So, you know, what is more secure, and having a better understanding of that as a whole, not just as it relates to AI. Awesome. Cool. I think that kind of covers it. I appreciate everybody's time and feedback, and you guys were super engaged. I always appreciate that. You will get a copy of this recording. You'll get some emails from us, and you know, feel free to reach out to Jason. He loves answering questions. So do we all, but I like to throw him under the bus there. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.
Thanks, everybody.